Welcome, welcome, welcome. Here we are again. We are interviewing another CEO in the Web 3.0 space, and we are going to be talking about Web 3.0 marketing. I think it's, first of all, it's a topic that's very close to my heart because I think Web 3.0 marketing is crucial for the success of, obviously, of any project, and also because Web 3.0 marketing is fundamentally very different from Web 2.0 marketing. In today's show with Benjamin, we're going to be talking about understanding the differences between Web 2.0 marketing, Web 3.0 marketing, how companies can get into and start doing Web 3.0 marketing. We'll also listen to some use cases, how Benjamin has helped Web 3.0 projects with his company, and we'll take the conversation from there. For now, Benjamin, I leave the floor to you. Maybe if you want to introduce yourself and maybe tell us how you got into the Web 3.0 space, and we'll take it from there.
Perfect. Yeah. So nice to see you guys. Can't see you, but talk to you guys. So I'm Benjamin Sullivan. I'm the CEO of a marketing agency for Web3 and blockchain projects. We do social media marketing and paid advertising operation and refinement. We have some key partnerships in the PR space with like Forbes, Wall Street Journal, Cointelegraph. So yeah, that's a pretty good conciseness of the business. So I got into Web3, I'd like to think like early 2018. So I was a private blockchain crypto investor 2017. And that kind of goes hand in hand in Web3, especially by that point. So I was researching heavily, got extremely interested in it, went into marketing around the same time.
Just out of curiosity, were you doing already marketing previously?
No. So
okay.
I'm 20 years old now.
Okay.
So at that point, I would have been doing my A levels.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that was actually 5 years ago.
yeah.
More or less.
I'd have been doing GCSEs then, which is high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very new space. So,
Yeah.
so it's pioneers are basically the ones that have this kind of experience of over 5 years of experience in the space.
Yeah. Perfect.
So what led you to create a Web 3.0 company? And if you can say, how is a Web 3.0 company different from a Web 2.0 company?
Okay.
In
Yeah.
terms of marketing, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. So my company, as it stands, doesn't operate much differently than any other marketing agency in the Web2 space. Not while the infrastructure and tools available on what we call Web3 is still like under development. It's hard to there isn't many tools that's not much decentralized tools that I would be using for my agency.
When you say decentralized tools, what kind of tools are you referring
Yeah,
to?
so for example, like my CRM, for example, like this is still very heavily connected to places like Facebook Pixel and Google, which are still heavily Web2 companies. But what I'd say separates us from a Web2 marketing agency would have to be like the actual promotion of the Web3 movement that we do and the services we provide to exciting new products breaking into that space. We're more aiding Web3 projects than operating as one ourselves. Yeah.
So I know that it's not legal to, or maybe it's not legal to advertise token sales, NFT sales, blockchain, blockchain just in general, kind of on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Google, on pretty much any platform. Question is, why is that it's not legal to advertise it? And maybe the follow-up question about it. So how do you market if that's kind of the issue? What do you do to market a Web 3.0 project?
Yeah, so if we use Twitter as an example first, so now you can for NFTs. So you can use that as part of your, for example, paid ads for Twitter now. But you're still correct on the crypto. That's still a no-go. There's a lot of theories about that. But yeah, so to answer your other questions about ways around it, we can use keywords that are very crypto and blockchain adjacent. So obviously for a Web2 marketing agency, say e-commerce, for example, you're going to have a much easier time with building your demographic settings and your keywords, hashtag sets, all of that for a. To be fair, hashtag sets is completely fine. You can still do hashtag crypto and all of this, but specifically for keywords for the advertising, you're going to run into an issue with. So yeah, there's definitely ways around it. We're actually soon enough we will have a partnership with there's a tech company that's created an algorithm that they strictly work with Web3 and blockchain projects to optimize their paid ads. So with the agencies they've tested on, they've had up to 10x ROI after using their algorithm.
So what happened? What does the algorithm do? Because that's quite large. That's
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
large increase.
Yeah, obviously against like an extremely advanced against an extremely experienced marketer, maybe it wouldn't be 10x. It's just the ones that they'd used it against so far. But what they do is they just optimize the demographic settings, the keyword sets, and everything that we'd be using for paid ads. That's something we're still exploring with them. I don't think they want to necessarily. They're allowing agencies to access their tech, but I don't think they want us to know exactly how
it works. Yeah, of course,
exactly.
it's their IP, I guess.
Yeah.
You said something very interesting. You talked about hashtags and optimizing hashtags and talking about adjacent hashtags.
Mhm.
What is this all about?
Yeah, so for example, like on your regular content posts again, we'll use Twitter as an example because it's just very heavily used for blockchain projects and Web3 projects. Your hashtag sets are what you can. It's an organic method of putting more eyes on that post. So having an optimized set of hashtags is very important to maximize growth.
Mhm.
Because, for example, if you're a Web3 project, using hashtag crypto isn't going to do for you as
Yeah.
much as using hashtag Web3, for example. Very simple example, but
Mhm.
that's the kind of thing we're talking about when we talk about optimizing hashtags.
Do you have any suggestions for the listeners in terms of how many hashtags they should use, what kind of hashtags, if there's a hashtag generator that they can just kind of out of the box insert some keywords, or I know that there is no magic solution, but something maybe just to kind of get them
Yeah.
started with hashtags.
Yeah, so I'd use as a general rule of thumb, I think it's much easier to not, it's going to sound weird, but not overthink it, because
Mm.
a lot of the things that are consistent in your messaging and your business model could be used as hashtags, because those are going to be the things that are going to drive genuinely interested parties to your post, rather than tricking. Like you can use all sorts of hashtags to
Mhm.
trick random people to see a post that's not relevant to what they're actually looking for. But yeah, to promote real. So yeah, what was the start of your question? Sorry, because I answered the last part.
It was you answered part of it, meaning that you explained how to kind of choose the hashtags. Is there a generator that somebody should use, or should they use maybe like an analytics tool to see what kind of hashtags are trending, or should they just kind of go with the gut feeling and be like, all right, I'm talking about this post, like you said, I'm going to highlight the main keywords and I'm going to transform those into hashtags?
Yeah, I'm not aware of an actual generator, but yeah, to go back to what I said, I really do think that if you have real secure and relevant messaging, then finding hashtags based off of the messaging that you use in your website and all of this and your business model, I think those are going to be much better for you. It's going to be much more valuable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Very interesting. So, we said previously that it has been illegal kind of to market your NFT crypto Web 3.0 project on all of these platforms. Therefore, people had to go around doing creative ways of promoting their project with giveaways, with shilling on
Yeah.
Discord and Telegram, Twitter giveaways, and half of which are kind of scams, half of which are not really real. So it created kind of a big mess of different, in my opinion, a big mess of kind of different roads that you can take to market your project. So my question here is, what would you say if, let's say, there is a crypto project that is starting, Web 3.0, maybe NFT project that is starting? What would you suggest would be the best ways to start with the marketing in an organic manner? Some ideas kind of could be that we had from previous experience was maybe listing it on free NFT drop sites like NFT Calendar and things like that, promoting it with influencers. And but I don't know, maybe why don't you shine a little bit more light into on this?
Yeah, so two tried and trusted methods would definitely be PR and influencers, like the other person you talked to mentioned. Influencers are great. Then it's hard to find them at a cost-effective rate. Some of them are very inflated prices because there isn't, even though you'll be able to find lists of hundreds with all these different agencies, but there's a genuinely small set that are that have a quality following, that are actually engaged in, that are willing to engage in the tokens that they promote. So it's not necessarily the easiest to find, but yeah, that's a good way of going about it. PR is great.
What is the difference between PR and influencers?
Yeah, so PR in this context would be getting articles listed on like Cointelegraph, for example, Forbes, actual written publications. Whereas influencers, for this, I would define as people on YouTube with large followings, TikTok, Twitter. Those are that's how I'd separate it.
Just talk maybe a little bit about PR. So articles, how important are this for an NFT project, and are they important, or why are they important or not?
So for NFT projects, I would say less so than a token coming to market.
Interesting. Okay.
And there is some. So for example, so Tyler Hobbs. Are you familiar with his NFT drop?
No. Would
Okay,
you mind
so
repeating that?
yeah, Tyler Hobbs. So it's a very high end art that was made into an NFT. He benefited a lot from PR because it wasn't as gimmicky as most NFTs. It was traditional art space. So yeah, there are some use cases for PR for NFTs. But as a general rule of thumb, I wouldn't put as much weight on it as influencers, for example. Influencers would be huge for NFTs. And then equally, there's a trade-off. So for more, I'm working with a project currently called Solalgo. They're a digital investment bank, Web3 digital investment bank, and they won't benefit as much from influencers that we will be setting them up with, as much as they will with PR, because they're a traditional business, and getting eyes on them where we can show people actual use cases rather than a hype video on YouTube, for example, way more valuable. So yeah. Yeah.
So bottom line is that PR is better for token sales or token launches, meaning creating an article to talk about the upcoming token launch, the date, the amount, the traction that the token has, while influencers would be more efficient for NFT launches. So all right, that's a very important distinction. How should a project go about finding influencers? Should they reach out to an agency? Should they try to do it themselves? What do you think should be the approach? Should they start first by themselves, then reach out to an agency? What are some of the budgets that you suggest?
Yeah, so I think the safest and best approach would probably go with an agency first. But I definitely wouldn't turn people away from the idea of, if you know a specific influencer, you know their audience, you know that they're the eyes that you want, I wouldn't say that you shouldn't reach out to them, because in some cases that's great, and you will find the people you need. But yeah, some of the more successful, the bigger influencer agency brands, they've got it on lock now. They know what they're doing.
Just to give maybe an idea to people that are listening, what are some of the budget that people should think about when thinking about, all right, I have an NFT project, I'm going to think about influencers. How much should I put aside for that?
Yeah, so one influencer, I would say over 100,000 following on YouTube. I'll use them as the metric. you're looking at over $1,000, but anything up to $4 for that much.
Okay.
And then equally, you can find some that have 1 million followers for $4,000, but they don't necessarily have the best engagement. They're more gimmicky. All they do is promote, and then people don't put as much weight on their videos to actually go and discover what they're advertising. I would put as an NFT campaign, I would set aside a real minimum of $10,000 for influencers. And that's a real minimum, because it is quite obvious if only one person that's obviously just shelling coins is putting a video out. Whereas if you have a whole campaign going, it looks a little bit more organic, but then you still have to be really careful to not look like you're really just paying for influencers, even though that's obviously what you're doing. You don't want that to be the public, you don't want that to be the display.
This is very interesting that you've just said. You don't want to look like you're just shilling coins, or just kind of looking like you're paying the influencers. How do you go about not doing that, not appearing as if you are kind of just paying to shill your coin?
Yeah, so I would just go with a much more a higher quality YouTube channel. So someone that's the frequency of their ads versus general videos, you want the ratio to be higher. So you don't want every single video to be a promoted video.
Yeah.
Sorry, promoted coin. Yeah, that's one easy way to make it like that.
So we discussed the influencers, and you suggest to set aside around a budget of 10,000. One more question regarding the influencers. What about smaller influencers? So you talked about 100,000. What about the guys that have maybe 10,000, 5,000? What is that still worth? Like micro influencers, is that still worth getting into, or not really?
Yeah, definitely. So for example, if your budget was just 10,000, then maybe I would stick with some bigger influencers. But if you're having a real influencer marketing campaign going, we're talking about 6 figures to high 5 figures or even more. Some projects have just like huge budgets for marketing. But if we're talking in the higher 5s, lower 6 range, I would definitely invest a portion into micro influencers, because it looks way more organic. Yeah. And it's just variation. For example, YouTube's great because it serves two purposes. Not only are you sending new audiences over to your project, but you're also leaving resources on YouTube for people to look up when they're trying to research your coin. So it serves two very important purposes.
Okay. One more question regarding the PR, and then we'll move on to a new topic. What would you suggest the budget for PR to be?
Yeah, so that's when it starts to. So we're not a PR agency. We just have connections with big publications. So when it comes to strategy, I know enough, but I definitely wouldn't. I'm not a. What would you say? I'm not as educated. But when we're talking just straight up budgets, I'll give you an idea. So, for example, like a Forbes article, if you wanted a third of a page color, we're talking over $100,000. So these are like huge budgets. So like you can Hackanoon is another example. Like Hackanoon, for example, you can have a whole full article for much less than that. We're talking just maybe not even $1,000.
But Forbes, Forbes is Forbes, and other articles. Forbes has a very big credibility, and that would be maybe the top of kind of, I would say, about the credibility, because PR is, I guess, it's all about creating credibility for your project, because it's
that and displaying use cases, definitely.
Exactly. Big news outlets are displaying your project, even though they're paid to do so. So one question regarding this: can you write anything that you want and it will be published?
No, definitely. They're vetted very heavily. Again, this is something that you'd probably be better off asking a PR agency. But some agencies will write your press release for you. They have great relationships with the publications already, so it's much more likely to be published. But yeah, they won't publish anything of a lower quality. Definitely.
Okay. Some of the best ways to learn or to understand something is with a use case, to understand how something is done. But before maybe I ask you about some use cases on how you guys worked with the company, what you guys did, how you brought them, how you made them their marketing successful. I want to ask you one other thing. So. We talked about PR and influencers, and we talked about some things to do for Web 3.0, and we talked about the differences between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. What are some of the don'ts for Web 3.0 marketing?
So the downsides.
Not the downside, the don'ts, like don't shill on Reddit, or don't
Okay.
post too many giveaways, or don't any kind of don'ts from your experience that you would kind of just suggest people like, hey, please just don't do this.
Yeah, one that instantly crops to mind is there's a tactic where people will just reach out on Instagram DMs. I'm sure if you open up your message requests, you'll see a billion messages from all these different brands. That's something that some companies will invest a lot of money in and hire people full time, just go on Instagram and do this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It has
even robots.
Yeah.
Plenty of robots doing this.
Yeah, no, it has the worst, just awful ROI. It's almost nothing. There's no results from that. So you mentioned
interesting.
Reddit.
Why do you say that shilling, for example, like on Twitter, sending a message on Twitter or on Instagram has a poor ROI?
Yeah, so I'd say Twitter's a little bit better just because people are used to especially if you're in the blockchain space on Twitter. I think it's because it's setting, isn't it? So Instagram people are opening their message requests and seeing it from clothing brands, jewelry brands, all of this, and then you find an NFT brand. If you're in the same set as things that people are already completely disregarding, there's almost little to no chance that they're going to then regard your project within that set of 10 to 20 message requests.
Interesting. Absolutely.
I've never really come across people trying to do it on Twitter. I'm sure it happens. It's just not something I'm aware of.
As a matter of fact, today I just built a robot that shills messages on Twitter. I posted it on my YouTube channel as a short. It's surprisingly easy. By the way, the video is called "Why Elon Didn't Buy Twitter," and it's because it's extremely easy to create these automations and these robots. I'm not sure. Have you heard about a tool called Microsoft Power Automate?
No.
It's if you're using a Windows machine, it's a tool that comes pre-installed already on your computer, and it's a tool from Microsoft that allows you to create robots that can pretty much automate any repetitive or manual task that you have. Windows provides it. It's a no-code solution. So basically, Windows gave us, everybody, the tools. Anybody that bought a Windows license gave them the tools to create automations and just devastate social media platforms or any other kind of platform. That's probably because they don't have a social media platform. But anyways, that's maybe a topic for another time. But do check it out. I think in marketing is definitely a helpful and useful solution. So maybe let's give the audience an idea of how a marketing project is conducted with an agency. Maybe walk us through a use case of how you guys work with your customers, what people should expect, and the results that they get, and also maybe an idea about the budget so that people know kind of how what kind of budget they should be putting aside for marketing.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll go through what we offer quickly, and then I'll offer a use case after, just so you have more context. So we offer social media marketing. That would be content, delivery, and growth tactics. So we'll have complete operation of, say, Twitter, for example. We have in-house graphic designers to do very high quality content. And then we would completely operate and promote the growth of your channel or platform. And then on the paid ad side of our operation, we would, I mentioned this a little bit already about the company in Israel with the algorithm. But our paid the paid advertising side of our business is we would manage or start new campaigns on your social media platforms, completely optimize the demographic settings, the keywords, all of this to make sure that you're having the highest ROI on paid ad spend.
Mhm.
In every single case we've come on board, we have a minimum ad spend that we'll work with. So for example, if you're spending 1,000, 2,000 on ads per month, we wouldn't necessarily work with you on that because we wouldn't be able to save you enough because we charge a little bit over that actually for our services.
Mhm.
Whereas some of the medium to larger size businesses, we will save them tens, hundreds of thousands of pounds just by providing our services with it.
I understand.
Yeah. So one use case I won't use their name actually, it's just we signed an NDA, but this is a good example. This is a Web3 sustainability brand. We had a short-term contract with them for 2 months before they came to market. Okay. They went from 1,000 followers to 35,000 followers on Twitter in 2 months, completely organic with no influencers, limited PR, and just on Twitter growth
Now
tactics.
that's amazing. That's amazing. That's when you say completely organic. How is that possible?
Yeah, so this is I don't want to say we're completely unique, but we do have we have some tactics that I don't want to go into too many details, but it's completely organic.
I understand.
It's a lot of it's about community nurturement, reach out, knowing
Mhm.
who to be talking to. We're very
Okay.
proactive. We're not just on your Twitter 1 hour a day. We're becoming part of your team and like heading your marketing efforts.
I understand perfectly well. Yeah.
It's much more
So
involved.
so it's not about kind of creating posts on Twitter. It's more about engaging with the Web 3.0 community that is in your space to create value, to create interesting
Yeah,
questions, to
yeah,
create conversation, to create movement like that, and not just be a robot that kind of
yeah.
does things mindlessly or just kind of creates a post that is not really kind of interesting for the community in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, we should have definitely kind of started with, you know what, I'm Benjamin, and I transformed a project from 100 users to 300,000 or 100,000, whatever number it was crazy, in just 2 months. Now, that's a tagline.
Yeah.
That's definitely tagline. So what do companies have to do to work with you guys? How do you guys what kind of budget is required, and
Mhm.
what should companies expect?
Yeah, so we would take on we do take on startups if they are post funding.
Mhm.
But as a general rule of thumb, it would be a medium to large size company. We are very selective, but purely based on the fact that we only want to work with projects that we really understand their business model. I'd
Mhm.
like to think that I'm very like I can understand someone's even the most what's it called, nuanced business model fairly fast, but my whole team needs to. So yeah, we are very selective, but a medium-sized business, yeah, just a medium-sized Web3 blockchain company that's willing to transform their marketing efforts.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Cool. Well, this was super insightful. This was a great conversation. I think we created some great content for the Web 3.0 community in terms of how to market a company and differences between a Web 2.0 project, Web 3.0 project. Maybe just before we close our show, is there anything that you wanted to add, maybe that you think is important that we didn't talk about, that we missed? Or yeah, just maybe any comments?
yeah. I mean, for the Web3 community, I think it's really important now that there's like there's a lot of tech companies coming out that are like pushing this concerted effort to start really decentralizing because everyone talks about the theory of Web3, but nobody's really started decentralizing and providing tools like banks. So that's Salalgo that I'm talking about. They're providing a bank that people can use in the Web3 space. I think, and they won't necessarily even see this, but I think people need to start making those tools more often. Everyone likes to
Mhm.
talk about it. Everyone likes to build all these promises, but we need people to start building. We really do.
Well, we are in the we are the pioneers, meaning that the best use cases still haven't been built in the Web
Yeah.
3.0 space. And right now we are just kind of having the first use cases and the first examples. Awesome. Thank you. Once again, thank you. That was great content. I sent you a private chat message. So I just want to thank everybody that has been with us today. This video is going to be on different channels. You'll find them in the description below. We'll also leave a link to Benjamin in the description below. And thanks again, Benjamin, and everybody else for tuning in. And I want to wish you a great Web 3.0 day. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Benjamin, once again.